welcome to Mail Story. If you enjoy stories, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next ones.
My best friend is begging me to forgive his brother for assaulting my girlfriend because he's autistic. I was walking to the cafeteria when I heard the slam. Russell had some freshmen shoved against the lockers. The kid was trying to get away, but Russell grabbed him by the hair and cracked his head against an open locker door. Blood ran down his face and the kid fell to the floor. My best friend Brady came running and I thought he was going to do something since Russell was his younger brother. Instead, he pulled Russell back gently, like Russell was the one who needed protecting. Hey, it's okay. What happened? Russell's whole body changed. His shoulders slumped and his voice went small. I didn't mean to. He was being mean to me and I got overwhelmed. It's my autism, I can't help it. Brady's face softened immediately. I know, buddy. I know. Then he turned on the kid bleeding on the floor. What did you say to him? The kid was too busy bleeding out to process what he said. Nothing, he mumbled weakly. Don't lie. My brother doesn't do this for no reason. Then teachers showed up. Russell gave them the same performance. They walked him to the counselor's office like he was the victim. Nobody helped the freshman. As Brady guided him down the hall, Russell looked back over his shoulder at me and smirked, like he knew exactly what he just got away with. That was 2 weeks ago. Now that same guy has a crush on my girlfriend. I saw what that crush looked like 2 days later. It was lunch, and I was in line with my girlfriend Natalie, holding my tray, half listening to her talk about the history test we'd just failed. I literally wrote "I don't know" for the last essay question, she said. Like those exact words. I just gave up. I laughed. At least you wrote something. I drew a question mark and hoped for partial credit. That's not how essays work. It is if you believe in yourself. She shoved my shoulder. I loved everything about her. Natalie and I had been together for 6 months, and being with her still felt like winning the lottery every single day. She was the kind of person who made everyone around her feel seen. She remembered the little things and laughed with her whole body. She started telling me about how her mom tried to give the dog a bath with some fancy shampoo and accidentally turned him pink when she just stopped mid-sentence. I felt her go rigid next to me before I understood why. Then I turned around, and there was Russell, right behind her, his hand on her lower back like he had every right to touch her. He was leaning in, his mouth practically brushing her ear, and he whispered, "You smell really good," in this slow, savoring voice that made my skin crawl. Natalie looked like she'd seen a ghost. She knew who Russell was. Everyone at school knew what he'd done to that freshman. She'd been there when I told her about the blood and the smirk and how Brady just let it happen. And now Russell was touching her like she belonged to him. I moved without thinking, stepped around Natalie and got right in Russell's face. "Get your hands off her." And then I watched something I'll never forget. For maybe half a second, Russell's face didn't change at all. His eyes stayed flat and empty, like a shark's eyes, like there was nothing behind them. Then it was like watching someone flip a switch. His lower lip started trembling. His eyes got wet. His shoulders hunched in and his voice came out all small and hurt. "I was just being nice. Why are you yelling at me?" The transformation was insane. If I hadn't seen his eyes in that first moment, I might have actually believed he was upset. The lunch monitor, Mrs. Weaver, came over. She was this older lady who'd never liked me ever since I accidentally spilled orange juice on her shoes freshman year. She looked at Russell, saw a small kid who looked like he was about to cry, then looked at me, a guy who's almost 6 feet tall standing over him with my fists clenched, and her face got all hard and judgmental. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, but you could tell she'd already decided whose side she was on. Russell pointed at me with a shaky finger. "He's being mean to me. I was just trying to talk to his girlfriend and he started yelling at me for no reason." Mrs. Weaver turned on me with her arms crossed. "Leave him alone." "He had his hands on my girlfriend," I said. "He was touching her without—" "I don't want to hear it." She held up her hand like she was stopping traffic. "Get back in line or you're eating lunch in the principal's office. Your choice." I wanted to argue, but Natalie grabbed my arm and squeezed. I looked at Russell and he was already walking away. And right before he disappeared into the crowd, I saw it, the corner of his mouth curling up. Just for a second. This smug little smile that nobody else caught. Natalie's grip on my arm was so tight it almost hurt. "Did you see that?" she whispered. "Tell me you saw how fast he changed." I saw it. It was like he was a completely different person, like he just put on a mask. I know. Ivan, that was terrifying, the way he just switched like that. And then Mrs. Weaver acted like I was the problem, like you were the problem, like we did something wrong. "I know, Nat. I saw." She was shaking a little. I put my arm around her and she leaned into me. I don't want him near me again, she said quietly. I'll make sure of it. I found Brady after school. He was at his locker, shoving books into his backpack, and I walked up and just stood there until he noticed me. Hey, he said. What's up? Your brother grabbed my girlfriend today. Brady's face did this thing where it went through about 3 emotions in 2 seconds. Surprise, then something that looked almost like guilt, then this tired, defensive expression I'd seen 100 times before. He sighed. Okay. What happened? He came up behind her in the lunch line, put his hand on her back, leaned in and whispered something creepy in her ear. What did he say? He told her she smelled good. Brady made a face like I was overreacting. That's it? He said she smelled good? He was touching her, Brady. He had his hands on her without permission. Ivan, come on. He's never had a crush before. He doesn't understand how to act around girls. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So that makes it okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he doesn't know any better. He doesn't understand boundaries the way other people do. He's not 5 years old. He's 17. Brady closed his locker and finally looked at me straight on. Then she should just tell him nicely that she's not interested, instead of you getting in his face and making him feel like a freak. You know how he is, Ivan. He doesn't mean anything by it. I stared at my best friend. We'd known each other since 2nd grade. We'd been through everything together. And right now, he was standing there making excuses for his brother like it was the most natural thing in the world, like he'd done it 1,000 times before, which, I realized, he probably had. This isn't okay, I said. It's not a big deal. Just let it go. It is a big deal. To Natalie. To me. You're overreacting. I turned and walked away before I said something I'd regret. Russell got worse after I confronted him. Way worse. It was like me stepping in had made Natalie more interesting to him somehow, like she was a challenge now. 3 days later, I was sitting in English class half asleep when my phone buzzed. Text from Natalie. Gym hallway now. My heart started pounding. I raised my hand. Can I use the bathroom? I didn't wait for an answer, just grabbed the hall pass and practically ran to the gym. Natalie was waiting outside the gymnasium doors. She wasn't crying. Her eyes were dry and hard, and her hands were balled into fists at her sides. She looked furious. He tried to kiss me, she said. What? Russell. Just now. He cornered me in the hallway and tried to kiss me. Tell me exactly what happened. She took a breath. I was taking the shortcut by the gym, you know, the one I always take to get to 4th period? And he was just there, standing at the end of the hallway, blocking my path. I could picture it as she spoke. The empty hallway with the flickering fluorescent lights. Natalie walking alone. Russell appearing out of nowhere like he'd been waiting for her. I tried to go around him, she said, and he moved with me, like it was a game. I went left, he went left. I went right, he went right. I told him to move and he just smiled at me. She shuddered. This creepy, slow smile, like he was enjoying it. Then what? Then he grabbed my face, both hands. His fingers were digging into my cheeks and he just pulled me toward him. He was trying to kiss me, Ivan. He was actually trying to force me to kiss him. My hands were shaking. What did you do? I shoved him, hard as I could. He flew back and hit the wall and then... She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Then the tears started. Instantly. Like he'd flipped a switch, he started crying and saying, "Why is everyone so mean to me? I just like you. I just wanted to show you I like you. Are you kidding me?" It gets better. This substitute teacher came around the corner right then. She saw Russell crying against the wall and me standing there, and you know what she said to me? She said I should feel flattered that he likes me. She said I shouldn't assault disabled kids. She made me apologize to him, Ivan. Right there in the hallway. While he stood there sniffling and wiping his tears and looking at me with this tiny little smile that nobody else could see. She was pacing now, back and forth, her sneakers squeaking against the floor. "I want to hurt him," she said. "I actually want to hurt him. Is that bad? Am I a bad person for wanting to hurt him? No. Because I really, really want to hurt him. And then I want to hurt everyone who keeps looking at me like I'm the crazy one, like I'm making this up, like I should just be grateful that some creep is obsessed with me." I reached for her and she stepped back. "Don't. I'm not done being mad yet." So I waited. I leaned against the wall and let her pace and let her vent. She talked about how nobody ever asked for her side of the story, how the sub just saw Russell's tears and assumed Natalie was the villain. how she felt like she was losing her mind because everyone kept telling her that what she experienced wasn't really happening. "What if it gets worse?" she asked. "What if he does something worse and nobody believes me then either? We'll figure this out." "How? How are we going to figure this out when everyone thinks he's the victim?" I didn't have an answer for that. Finally, she stopped pacing. Her shoulders dropped and she looked exhausted, all the anger draining out of her at once. "What are we supposed to do?" she asked quietly. "Nobody believes us." I pulled her into a hug, and this time she let me. She pressed her face into my shoulder and I could feel her breathing, trying to calm down. "I promise we'll figure this out," I said. "Okay. I mean it. I know." That night my phone rang at 11:30. I was already in bed, half asleep, and I almost didn't answer. Then I saw Natalie's name on the screen and I knew something was wrong. "He's outside my house," she whispered. Her voice was shaking. "What?" "Russell. He's standing on the sidewalk, just standing there, staring at my window." I sat up so fast I almost fell out of bed. "Are you sure it's him?" I looked through the blinds. He's right under the streetlight. He's not even hiding. He's just staring up at my bedroom like he's watching a movie. "Did you call the cops?" "I called them before I called you. They came, they talked to him, and then they left." "What do you mean they left?" "They said he's not breaking any laws. He's standing on a public sidewalk. It's a free country." He told them he was going for a walk and stopped to catch his breath and didn't even know this was my house. And they believed him. Of course they believed him. "I'm coming over. Ivan. I'm coming over right now." I drove to her house way too fast, ran 2 stop signs. Didn't care. When I got there, she met me at the door and she looked small in a way I'd never seen before, scared in a way that made me want to break something. She took me up to her room and sat on her bed and opened her laptop. "I've been keeping track of everything," she said. "What do you mean?" "Documenting, dates, times, screenshots, everything he's done, because I knew nobody would believe me without proof." She pulled up a folder. It was organized meticulously, every incident written down, every text message saved. She'd been building a case this whole time while everyone else was telling her she was overreacting. She handed me her phone. "Look at his texts from today." I started scrolling. 113 texts. In a single day. At first, they seemed almost innocent. "Hi. How are you? I saw you today. You looked pretty." Then they got more insistent. "Why aren't you answering? I know you're reading these. You can't ignore me forever." Then darker. "Ivan doesn't treat you right. I would treat you so much better. You belong with me. We're meant to be together." And then the last one, sent 40 minutes before she called me, the one that made my blood run cold. "I see your bedroom light is on. Are you thinking about me too?" I looked at Natalie. She was watching my face. "Every time I try to tell someone, they act like I'm being dramatic," she said. "So tell me, am I being dramatic? Is this normal? Is this what a harmless crush looks like?" I couldn't answer because we both knew it wasn't. The next morning, I found Brady before first period. He was alone at his locker, and I walked right up to him and shoved my phone in his face. "He stood outside her house last night. He's sending her over 100 texts a day. Look at this." Brady's jaw tightened. He pushed my hand away without even glancing at the screen. He probably just wanted to make sure she got home safe. "Are you joking right now?" "You're making him sound like a predator, Ivan. He's my brother." "Your brother grabbed her face and tried to force her to kiss him. Your brother stands outside her house at night watching her window. Your brother sent her over 100 texts in one day. What does he have to do before you believe me?" Brady stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You need to drop this. I'm serious. You're going to ruin his life over a crush." I looked at him. My best friend since we were 7 years old, and I felt absolutely nothing. "If something happens to her," I said slowly, "it's on you." His face flinched like I'd slapped him. Neither of us moved for a long moment. 17 years of friendship just hanging there between us, cracking down the middle. I turned and walked away. Didn't look back. That night I sat in my room trying to figure out what to do. I needed proof they couldn't ignore. Real proof. Not just screenshots they could wave away. Not just Natalie's word against his. And then I remembered the freshman. The kid Russell slammed into the locker door. The kid lying on the floor with blood running down his face while Brady told him he must have done something to deserve it. Russell had been doing this his whole life, hurting people and getting away with it because everyone believed his act. Which meant there were other victims out there. Other kids he'd hurt. Other kids who'd been silenced. Kids who might finally be willing to talk if someone bothered to ask. I was going to find every single one of them. So that's where I'm at. Everyone thinks I'm the villain. Part of me keeps replaying Brady's face when I showed him the texts. For a second, I thought he'd actually hear me. But his family's been covering for Russell so long they don't know how to stop. They think lawyers and threats make problems disappear. They don't know I grew up watching Russell hurt people too. The freshman from the hallway. The kid whose face he slammed into that locker. He's still at our school. I'm gonna find him tomorrow. See what he remembers. I'll keep you posted. I found the freshman the next day. His name was Brett, and he was sitting alone in the library, hunched over a textbook like he was trying to disappear into it. The scar above his eyebrow was still pink. When I sat down across from him, he flinched so hard he knocked his books off the table. I'm Ivan. I wanted to talk about what happened with Russell. He started gathering his things with shaking hands. I can't. Please just leave me alone. He's doing it again. To my girlfriend. She's terrified and nobody will help. Brett froze. What do you mean? Stalking her. Touching her. Standing outside her house at night, and every time we try to tell someone, he cries and we're the bad guys. Brett's jaw tightened. His eyes got wet. You have no idea what he did to me. I had to get 7 stitches. And Brady stood there telling everyone I must have provoked him. I believe you. Nobody believed me. His voice broke. I had to walk around with stitches in my face, watching Russell smile at me in the hallway. And there was nothing I could do about it. His family has lawyers. They threatened to sue my parents if we pushed it. We couldn't afford to fight them. Brett, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be different. He looked at me with something fierce underneath the fear. I'm not the only one. There's others. Lots of others. Russell's been doing this for years. Talk to Jared. He's a junior, walks with a limp. He'll tell you more. That night I told Natalie what Brett had said. We were in her room going through her folder of documentation, adding notes, building our case together. There's more victims, I said. Maybe a lot more. Then we find them, she said. All of them. I'm not just going to sit here being the victim while you do all the work. We do this together. The next day, Natalie spotted Jared first. There, she whispered. By the science wing stairs. See how he's holding the railing? Jared was a junior with shaggy hair and a noticeable limp. He was walking carefully, favoring his left leg, gripping the railing like he expected to fall at any moment. We caught up to him in an empty hallway. Hey, I said. Can we talk to you for a second? He looked at us warily. About what? About Russell. The color drained from his face. Who told you? Brett. He said you might be willing to share what happened. Jared glanced around, checking for witnesses. Then he pulled us into an empty classroom and shut the door. It was last year, he said, not wasting any time. I was walking down the stairs by the science wing. Russell was coming up. We made eye contact for half a second. That's it. That's all I did. Next thing I know, I'm waking up at the bottom of the stairs in an ambulance. He pulled up his sleeve and showed us his arm. A long scar ran from his elbow to his wrist. Broke my arm in 2 places. Compound fracture. The bone was sticking through my skin. Natalie made a small gasping sound and looked away. My mom tried to press charges, Jared continued. She went to the police, the school. She was ready to fight. Then Brady's parents showed up with lawyers. They said Russell claimed I tripped. Said if we pursued this, they'd bury us in legal fees. My mom's a single mom. She works 2 jobs. His voice got quiet. She couldn't afford it, so we dropped it. I had to walk around school for 2 months with a cast watching Russell smirk at me every day. He pulled out his phone and showed us photos. X-rays of a fractured radius and ulna, his arm in a cast, the bone poking through skin. Take whatever you need, he said. Screenshots, copies, whatever. I don't care what happens to me anymore. I'm so tired of being scared. There's more people you should talk to. Gregory and Jude. Gregory's a junior. Jude's in your grade. His nose is crooked. Russell beat him so badly in the parking lot he was in the hospital for 2 days. We found Gregory the next day. He didn't want to talk at first, kept saying he'd moved on, that it didn't matter anymore. But when Natalie showed him Russell's texts, something shifted in his face. He told us Russell did something to him after Gregory beat him at a video game tournament. He wouldn't say what exactly. But a week after it happened, Russell passed him in the hallway and whispered, "How's your dog?" with a smile. Gregory's hands were shaking when he finished. He said he'd give us a statement, whatever we needed. Jude was harder to find. He wasn't in any of my classes, and when Natalie asked around, people got quiet. He doesn't really talk to anyone anymore, one girl told her. Not since what happened to him. We finally tracked him down after school, sitting alone on the bleachers by the empty football field. When we approached, he didn't flinch or look scared. He just looked tired, exhausted, like he'd been carrying something heavy for years and had given up trying to set it down. "I know why you're here," he said before we could speak. "Brett told Jared. Jared told someone. Word gets around. The answer is no. You haven't even heard what we're asking. I don't need to hear it." He stood up and I saw it clearly now. His nose bent slightly to the left. Healed wrong. "Russell beat me so badly in the parking lot that I was in the hospital for 2 days. My nose never healed right. I still get headaches. My little sister had nightmares for weeks because of how I looked when they brought me home." His voice was steady, but dead. "And nothing happened to him. Nothing ever happens to him. I'm not dredging all that up again just to watch him walk away clean." "Jude, please. We have 3 other people willing to talk. Medical records, photos, x-rays. This time could be different." That's what my parents said. Then the lawyers came. He started walking away. "I'm sorry about your girlfriend. I really am, but I can't help you." Natalie caught up to him. "Can I show you something?" She pulled out her phone and scrolled to Russell's texts. 113 in a single day. She stopped at the last one. "I see your bedroom light is on. Are you thinking about me too?" Jude read it. His jaw tightened. "He stands outside my house at night," Natalie said quietly, "watching my window. He grabbed my face and tried to force me to kiss him, and everyone keeps telling me I should feel flattered, that he can't help it, that I should just be nicer to him." Jude was quiet for a long time. Wind blew across the empty field. Finally, he pulled out his own phone and scrolled to a photo. I looked. Then I had to look away. It was his face right after the beating, swollen beyond recognition. Both eyes nearly shut. Blood everywhere. His nose flattened sideways. He looked like he'd been hit by a car. "I'll record a statement," he said finally. "But when this blows up in your face, don't say I didn't warn you." That night, we spread everything across my bedroom floor. 4 victims, witness statements, medical records, photos, x-rays, years of damage, all pointing to the same person. "They can't ignore this," Natalie said, staring at Jude's photo. Her eyes were wet. "This is real proof. They have to do something." We were organizing everything into a folder when the doorbell rang. Brady was standing in my living room, pale, shaking. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "You need to stop. You're digging up things that don't matter anymore." "Don't matter?" Brett still has a scar on his face. Jared still limps. Jude's nose is permanently crooked. None of that is over. "They're exaggerating. I have photos, Brady." His jaw tightened. "Where did you get those?" "From the victims, who were happy to share because someone finally asked." "Show him," Natalie said from the stairs. "Show him everything." I got the folder, handed it to Brady, watched his face as he flipped through the pages, the statements, the photos, the x-rays. When he got to Jude's face, his hands started trembling so badly the papers rattled. "He really did all this." His voice cracked. He stopped, swallowed. For one moment, my best friend was back. I could see it in his eyes. The horror, the realization. I watched him add it up. Every time he'd said, he didn't mean it. Every victim he'd helped silence. Every mess he'd cleaned up. If Russell was guilty of all this, then Brady was guilty too. He'd spent his whole life enabling a monster. Then his expression hardened. The moment was gone. "You're destroying my family over lies." He grabbed for the folder. I pulled it back. Natalie stepped forward. "You saw the proof. How can you still defend him?" Brady whirled on her with venom in his eyes. "You're the reason this is happening. If you'd just been nicer to him. You've got Ivan so twisted around you he can't think straight anymore." "Get out," I said. "Ivan, get out of my house. Now." He stared at me, then at the folder, then back at me. "You're going to regret this." He slammed the door behind him. Natalie was shaking. I pulled her close and we stood in the silence of my living room, surrounded by evidence that apparently didn't matter. The next morning, barely 7 a.m., the doorbell rang again. Brady's parents on my porch, his dad in a suit, his mom clutching her purse with white knuckles, and behind them, a man with an expensive briefcase, the lawyer. "Your son has been harassing our family," Brady's dad said coldly, "encouraging people to make false statements, collecting defamatory evidence against a disabled minor." My mom appeared behind me in her robe, coffee in hand. "I've seen the evidence. It's not false." The lawyer stepped forward. "Mrs. Forbes, if your son continues this harassment, we will pursue legal action, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We'll also be contacting every family whose child participated in this witch hunt." My mom took a sip of her coffee. Then she stepped forward. I've seen the photos, the medical records. I've seen the texts Russell sends. Over 100 in a single day. I've heard about him watching her window at night. She stepped closer. Brady's mom actually retreated a step. You can threaten us all you want, but I'd rather get sued than let another girl get hurt. Now get off my property. She closed the door in their faces. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. Jared. Lawyer called my mom at work. She came home crying. I can't do this to her. I'm sorry. Brett. My parents got a letter. They're terrified. I wanted to be heard, but I can't destroy my family. I'm sorry, Ivan. Gregory. They threatened to sue. My mom said we have to stop. I'm so sorry. But Jude didn't text. Natalie found out what happened when she went to check on him. She called me that night, her voice thick. His mom answered the door. She was sobbing. Said lawyers called her at work. Her boss overheard. Now everyone at her job knows her son got beaten up and she's terrified of being fired. She can barely make rent as it is. Natalie's voice cracked. She begged me to leave them alone. Said we'd already done enough damage. Jude was standing behind her. He just looked at me and shook his head. Like he'd known this would happen all along. I sat in my room staring at the folder. 2 weeks of work. 4 victims who finally felt brave enough to speak. All that proof. All that pain. Useless. Because Brady's family had money and lawyers and everyone else was too scared to fight. Brady found me at school on Monday. Smug smile on his face. Heard everyone backed out. Your parents' lawyer did a great job terrorizing teenagers and their families. It's about protecting my family from false accusations. You saw the photos. You saw what he did to Jude's face. Old pictures that don't prove anything. I slammed my locker shut so hard the sound echoed down the hallway. People turned to look. It's over when Natalie is safe. And Brady? I stepped close enough to see the fear flicker in his eyes. If your brother touches her again, I don't care what your lawyers do. I will put him in the hospital. Brady's face went white. Ivan, we're done here. I walked away. He didn't follow, so the evidence didn't matter. 4 victims, medical records, x-rays, photos of Jude's face beaten beyond recognition. None of it was enough. I thought about what comes next. More of the same? Watching Russell circle Natalie while everyone looks the other way? I can't live like that. She can't live like that. Russell's been quiet since the lawyer visit. His parents probably told him to lay low while they handled things. He thinks he won. Brady thinks it's over. Maybe it really is over. Maybe the lawyers scared him straight. Guess we'll find out. I'll let you know. Something changed after the lawyer visit. Russell stopped showing up everywhere. No text to Natalie, no hallway run-ins, no standing outside her house at night. 1 day passed, then 2, then 3, then 4. Natalie started sleeping through the night again. She stopped checking her windows before bed. She stopped flinching every time someone walked up behind her. Maybe his parents told him to knock it off, she said when I picked her up for school on Thursday. Maybe they finally realized he was going too far and actually did something about it. Maybe. I wanted to believe her. I really did. We passed Russell in the hallway that morning between 2nd and 3rd period. I tensed up, ready for anything, my hands curling into fists at my sides. But he just looked at the ground and kept walking. Didn't even glance in our direction. Didn't slow down. Just walked right past us like we didn't exist. Natalie squeezed my hand. See? It's over. Whatever they said to him, it worked. I nodded, but something in my gut didn't feel right. It was too easy, too clean. Russell had been obsessed with her for weeks, and now he was just done. People like him don't give up that easily. They don't just stop. But I didn't say anything because Natalie looked happy for the first time in forever, and I didn't want to take that away from her. By Friday, she was practically glowing. We ate lunch together on the quad, sitting in the grass with the sun on our faces, and she was laughing at something stupid I said about my chemistry teacher. Actually laughing. Not the forced kind she'd been doing for weeks. Real laughter that made her whole face light up. There's a party tonight, she said, scrolling through her phone. Jordan's throwing it. His parents are out of town for the weekend. Everyone's going. I hesitated. I don't know, Nat. Ivan, please. She set her phone down and looked at me with those eyes that always got me. I just want one normal night. One night where we're not thinking about Russell or lawyers or evidence folders or any of this. I want to dance with my boyfriend and laugh with my friends and drink cheap beer and feel like a regular teenager. Is that so much to ask? It wasn't. She'd been through hell. We both had. And she deserved one night off. One night where she could just be 17 and carefree and not looking over her shoulder every 5 seconds. Okay, I said. Let's go. Her whole face lit up like I'd just given her the best gift in the world. Really? Really. But I'm staying sober. Just in case. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling so wide it didn't matter. Fine. You can be my designated driver and my bodyguard, but you have to at least pretend to have fun. I'll do my best. She leaned over and kissed me, soft and quick, and for a second everything felt normal. Like the last few weeks hadn't happened. Like we were just two kids in love with nothing to worry about except homework and curfews. I love you, she said. I love you too. We spent the rest of the day being normal. After school, we went to get ice cream at this place downtown that Natalie loved. She got strawberry with sprinkles like she always did, and I got chocolate, and we sat on the bench outside and talked about nothing important. Movies we wanted to see, songs we liked, where we might want to go to college next year. She had ice cream on her nose, and I wiped it off, and she laughed and tried to put some on my nose, and we must have looked like idiots, but I didn't care. This was what I'd been fighting for. This right here. Her smile, her laugh, the way she looked at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. I dropped her off at home so she could get ready and told her I'd pick her up at 9. She texted me a picture of herself in a blue dress, asking if it looked okay. She looked beautiful. I told her so. She sent back a bunch of heart emojis, and I sat there staring at my phone like an idiot with a big dumb grin on my face. The party was packed when we got there. Music thumping so loud I could feel it in my chest. Cars lined up down the whole block. People everywhere, spilling out onto the lawn, crowding the porch, dancing in the living room with red cups in their hands. Natalie grabbed my hand and pulled me inside, and I watched her transform. The tension she'd been carrying for weeks just melted away. All the fear and stress and exhaustion just fell off her shoulders like she was shedding a skin. She grabbed a drink from the kitchen and then another, and she started dancing with her friends, moving to the music, laughing at something one of them said. She looked free. She looked happy. She looked like the girl I'd fallen in love with before any of this started. I leaned against the wall and watched her. I couldn't stop smiling. My friend Miles found me and handed me a soda. Not drinking tonight? Designated driver. Responsible. Boring, but responsible. He started talking about the basketball game next week, about the team we were playing, about some play coach wanted to run. I was half listening, half watching Natalie. She caught my eye across the room and did this goofy little wave, wiggling her fingers at me like a dork. I waved back. She blew me a kiss, almost falling over in the process, and her friends caught her and they all started laughing. She was a little drunk, happy drunk, the best kind. She mouthed something at me, but I couldn't hear over the music. She pointed at herself, then made a walking motion with her fingers, then pointed toward the hallway. Bathroom. I nodded and gave her a thumbs up. She rolled her eyes at how dorky I was and disappeared into the crowd toward the back of the house. I turned back to Miles. He was deep into some analysis about zone defense versus man-to-man and whether our point guard could handle the pressure. I tried to pay attention, but my eyes kept drifting to the hallway, waiting for Natalie to come back. She always took forever in the bathroom, always checking her makeup, fixing her hair, whatever girls do in there. 5 minutes was nothing. Miles was still talking. Something about free throw percentages. I nodded along, but I wasn't really listening. I checked my phone. No texts from her. Probably just a line. Parties always had lines for the bathroom. 10 minutes. Still no Natalie. Hey, I said, cutting Miles off mid-sentence. Hold that thought. I'm gonna go find Nat. I pushed through the crowd toward the hallway. The bathroom door was open. Light off. Empty. I checked the other rooms on the first floor. Kitchen where people were doing shots. Living room where people were dancing. Dining room where a beer pong tournament was happening. Backyard where a group was smoking by the pool. Nothing. No Natalie anywhere. I started asking people. Have you seen my girlfriend? Brown hair, blue dress, about this tall? Shrugs, shaking heads. Sorry, man. Haven't seen her. Who? Nobody had seen her. The panic started building in my chest. I tried to stay calm. She probably just ran into someone she knew. Probably talking somewhere. Probably fine. I checked the front yard, the porch, the driveway. Nothing. Back inside. My heart was beating faster now. I grabbed a girl by the arm who was coming out of the kitchen. Have you seen Natalie? Brown hair, blue dress. Oh yeah, I saw her like 10 minutes ago. She was heading upstairs. There was a huge line for the bathroom down here, so I think she went to find another one. Thanks. I was already moving toward the stairs. Something felt wrong. Really wrong. I took the stairs 3 at a time, shoving past people, not caring who I knocked into. Some guy yelled, "Hey, watch it!" But I was already gone. The upstairs hallway stretched out in front of me. 4 doors, music thumping from below, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. First door. I pushed it open. Empty bedroom. Coats piled on the bed. Second door. Bathroom. Some guy throwing up in the toilet, his friend holding his hair back. Did a girl come in here? Brown hair, blue dress? They shook their heads. Third door. Locked. I pressed my ear against it. For a second, I heard nothing but the muffled bass from downstairs. Then I heard her scream. Everything after that happened in fragments. I slammed my shoulder into the door. It didn't budge. I backed up and kicked it as hard as I could. The frame splintered. One more kick. The door flew open and crashed against the wall. And there was Russell. On top of Natalie. On the bed. Her shirt was torn. Her mascara was streaked down her face in black rivers. She was fighting him, trying to push him off, but she was drunk, and he had her wrists pinned above her head with one hand. He was trying to force his mouth onto hers. She was twisting her head away, crying, saying, "Stop, stop, please stop," over and over. He was so focused on her that he didn't even notice I was there. He didn't see me cross the room. He didn't see me grab him by the back of his shirt. He didn't see my fist until it connected with his face. I ripped Russell off the bed and threw him to the floor. He hit hard, the back of his head cracking against the hardwood, and for a second he just lay there stunned, blinking up at the ceiling like he couldn't understand what had just happened. Then his eyes focused on me and I saw it. That flash of calculation. That moment where he was deciding which mask to put on. His lips started to tremble. His eyes started to water. He opened his mouth to say the words he'd said 1,000 times before, the words that had gotten him out of everything, the words that had let him hurt person after person without ever facing a single consequence. "I can't help it. I didn't let him finish. I was on him before he could get the sentence out. My fist connected with his nose and I felt it break under my knuckles. Blood sprayed across his face. He screamed. I hit him again. His lip split open. Again. His cheek. Again. His eye. I couldn't stop. Every punch was for something. For Natalie. For Brett and the scar on his face. For Jared and his broken arm. For Gregory and whatever Russell did that made him flinch every time he heard, "How's your dog?" For Jude and his crooked nose and his little sister's nightmares. For every single person Russell had ever hurt while everyone looked the other way. For every tear he'd faked. For every lie he'd told. For every smug smile when he thought nobody was watching. My fists kept swinging. I could hear myself making sounds, grunts, and snarls that didn't sound human. Russell's face was turning into something unrecognizable, a mask of blood and swelling flesh, and I didn't care. I wanted to destroy him. I wanted to hurt him the way he'd hurt everyone else. I wanted to make sure he never touched another person again. Someone screamed from the doorway. I didn't stop. More voices now. Shouting. People crowding into the room. I felt hands grabbing at my shoulders, my arms, trying to pull me off. I shrugged them away and kept hitting. It took 3 people to finally drag me back. 3 guys hooking their arms under mine and physically lifting me off Russell's body while I thrashed and fought to get back to him. "Let me go!" I was screaming. "Let me go! Ivan, stop! Stop! It's over!" I didn't want it to be over. I wanted to keep going until there was nothing left of him. But they held me down, pinned me against the wall, and all I could do was watch Russell lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood, barely conscious, his face so swollen and ruined that his own mother wouldn't recognize him. The room had filled with people, everyone staring. Some had their phones out, recording. The music downstairs had stopped. The whole party had gone silent. Russell stirred on the floor. He tried to push himself up, but his arms wouldn't hold him. He collapsed back down, coughing, blood bubbling from his lips. And then he spoke. She wanted it. His voice was thick and slurred through the blood and broken teeth, but everyone heard him. The room went dead silent. "She wanted it," he said again. "She was begging me. She's been flirting with me for weeks. She led me on. She wanted—" Dude, shut the fuck up. I don't know who said it. Some guy near the door. But it broke the spell. People started looking at the bed where Natalie was curled up in a ball. Her shirt was torn nearly in half. Her mascara had run down her face in black rivers. She was shaking so hard the whole bed was trembling. She could barely sit up straight. She was clearly drunk, clearly terrified, clearly not someone who had wanted anything that was happening to her. "Oh my God," a girl near the door whispered, her hand over her mouth. "Oh my God." People started backing away from Russell like he was contagious, like being near him might infect them with whatever he was. Nobody helped him up. Nobody offered him a hand. He just lay there in his own blood while everyone stared at him with disgust. I found Brady in the crowd. He was standing near the doorway, frozen, his face pale as a ghost. He was staring at his brother, at the blood, at Natalie on the bed, at the scene in front of him that he couldn't explain away. He couldn't say Russell didn't understand. He couldn't say Russell didn't mean it. He couldn't say any of the things he'd been saying his whole life because it was all right there in front of him. His brother had followed a girl to an empty room. His brother had pushed her inside and locked the door. His brother had pinned her down and tried to force himself on her. And when he got caught, his brother didn't cry, didn't play the victim. He said she wanted it. He said she was begging for it. That's not someone who doesn't understand. That's someone who knew exactly what he was doing and thought he could talk his way out of it like he always did. I watched Brady's face crumble. I watched 17 years of denial collapse in on itself. I watched him realize what he'd been protecting, what he'd been enabling, what he'd helped create. Every excuse, every cover-up, every time he'd said he can't help it or he didn't mean it or you must have provoked him. It was all right there on his face. The horror, the guilt, the understanding that he was part of this, that Russell's victims were his victims too. Someone had called 911. I could hear sirens in the distance, getting closer. People started clearing out, not wanting to be around when the cops showed up. But enough stayed, enough witnesses, enough people who had seen what Russell was doing when I broke down that door. The paramedics arrived first. 2 of them rushed upstairs with a stretcher and medical bags. They took one look at Russell and started working on him immediately, checking his vitals, stabilizing his neck, shining lights in his eyes. One of them looked at me with something that might have been judgment, or might have been understanding. I couldn't tell, and I didn't care. They loaded Russell onto the stretcher. His face was swollen beyond recognition. One eye completely shut, the other barely open, just a slit of white visible through the purple flesh. Blood was still pouring from his nose and mouth, soaking through the gauze they pressed against his face. He was mumbling something as they carried him out. Still talking, still trying to explain. She wanted it. She was flirting with me. I didn't do anything wrong. She wanted... One of the paramedics told him to stop talking. He didn't listen. He kept mumbling all the way down the stairs, his words getting more slurred as the shock set in. The cops came next. 2 of them. They took one look at the room, at Natalie on the bed, at the broken door, at the blood on the floor, and started separating people. Witnesses over here, everyone else downstairs. They found a blanket somewhere and wrapped it around Natalie's shoulders. She was still shaking, still crying. But when they asked her what happened, her voice was steady. "He followed me upstairs," she said. "I was looking for the bathroom. He pushed me into this room. He locked the door. He pushed me onto the bed. Her voice broke. She took a breath. "He tried to rape me. My boyfriend broke down the door and stopped him." The cop wrote everything down. Didn't interrupt. Didn't ask leading questions. Just let her talk. When she was done, he turned to me. "What happened?" I heard her scream. The door was locked. I kicked it down. He was on top of her. I pulled him off. I hit him. "How many times?" "I don't know. A lot." The cop looked at the blood on my knuckles, at the blood on the floor, at the dent in the wall where Russell's head had hit when I threw him down. "He going to live?" I hadn't thought about that. I looked at my hands like they belonged to someone else. "I don't know." The cop nodded slowly. He wrote something in his notebook. I waited for him to put me in handcuffs, to tell me I was under arrest for assault, for attempted murder, for whatever they charge you with when you beat someone half to death with your bare hands. Instead, he just said, "We'll need you to come to the station. Give a full statement, but you're not under arrest, not right now. What I saw when I walked in, what the witnesses are telling me." He shook his head. "You might be okay." Natalie found me after she finished giving her statement. She was still wrapped in the blanket, still shaking, but she walked straight to me and buried her face in my chest. I wrapped my arms around her and held on tight. We stood there in the front yard of the party house while red and blue lights flashed around us. She didn't say thank you. She didn't have to. She just held on like I was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "I'm sorry," I said into her hair. "I'm sorry I let him get close to you. I should have been watching. I should have..." "Don't." Her voice was muffled against my chest. "Don't apologize. You saved me. You're the only one who ever protected me." We stayed like that for a long time. I don't know how long. People moved around us, cops asking questions, witnesses giving statements, paramedics loading equipment back into the ambulance. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was that she was safe, She was alive. She was in my arms. A commotion near the ambulance made me look up. A car had screeched to a stop at the curb and Brady's parents were jumping out. His mom was running toward the ambulance, heels clicking on the pavement, screaming Russell's name. His dad was right behind her, face red with fury, already yelling at anyone who would listen. "What the hell happened? Who did this to my son? I want someone arrested, I want—" One of the cops stepped in front of him, blocking his path to the ambulance. "Sir, I need you to calm down." "Don't tell me to calm down. Someone assaulted my son. I want them arrested right now." "Sir, your son is being taken to the hospital. He's stable, but I need to inform you that he's being charged." Brady's dad stopped. "What?" "Your son is being charged with attempted sexual assault. We have multiple witnesses who saw him pinning down a young woman and attempting to force himself on her. The victim has given a statement. We have physical evidence. Your son will be formally charged once he's medically cleared." For a second, Brady's dad just stood there. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. His wife was still by the ambulance trying to get to Russell, being held back by paramedics. And for the first time since I'd known them, the people who had threatened and intimidated and bullied everyone into silence had nothing to say. No threats, no lawyers, no accusations, just silence. Brady approached me while his parents were distracted. I felt Natalie tense in my arms. I turned to face him, keeping her behind me. He looked like hell, pale and drawn, like he'd aged 10 years in the last hour. His eyes were red. His hands were shaking. "Ivan," he said. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he was... I never thought he would..." "You knew." The words came out cold and flat. "You always knew. You saw those photos. You saw what he did to Jude, to Brett, to Jared. You knew exactly what he was capable of, and you protected him anyway. I didn't think... You didn't want to think. There's a difference." Brady opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. What could he say? What excuse could possibly cover this? He'd spent his whole life defending his brother, making excuses, cleaning up messes, silencing victims. And now his brother was in an ambulance with a face that looked like raw meat, being charged with attempted rape, and there was nothing Brady could say or do to fix it. "We're done," I said. "Don't talk to me. Don't talk to Natalie. Don't come near us. We're done." I turned and walked away with Natalie still pressed against my side. Brady didn't follow. They questioned me about the beating. I told them everything. The months of harassment, the stalking, the folder full of victims, the lawyer threats that silenced everyone. Natalie backed me up. So did every witness who saw what Russell was doing when I broke down that door. They let me go. Russell was charged with attempted sexual assault. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses, Natalie's statement, his own words recorded on half a dozen cell phones. She wanted it. She was begging for it. No lawyer wanted to touch it. The first one his parents called took one look at the evidence and declined. The second one did the same. Without Russell's usual protection, the other victims started talking again. Brett reached out first, then Jared, then Gregory, then Jude. One by one, they came forward, gave statements, shared their stories with the police. Everything Russell had done over the years, all the violence and manipulation that had been buried under lawyers and threats and money, it all came pouring out. 2 weeks later, I was in my room when I heard the truck. I looked out my window. A moving truck was parked in front of Brady's house. His parents were loading boxes. His mom was wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, probably hiding the fact that she'd been crying. His dad moved with his shoulders hunched and his head down, a man trying to disappear. Neighbors were watching from their porches. Nobody offered to help. Brady came out carrying a box. He put it in the truck, then stopped to look up at my window. We stared at each other for a long moment. I waited to feel something. Anger, sadness, loss, anything, but there was nothing. So I closed the blinds.